Dan, would you say hello? Give us a précis of you, and then let's do a 15-minute conversation.
Hi guys, it's great to meet you all. My name's Dan. I've known you for a very long time. So my background is I'm a former journalist. I used to write for the FT, and I did a whole bunch of work for the Economist Group and whatnot. So I've worked with, on sort of big commercial stuff with IBM, Virgin, who else? Thomas Cook, Google, Cisco, I don't know, lots of companies. So I've been watching this channel for a while, and you and what he's been doing with you guys. And I think it's awesome. And I think the questions you guys ask are awesome. And I think the one thing I would say to you all is you've got more than you realize in your toolkit effectively. That if you could see it from our perspective, and the tools that you can use with AI and all the things that you're coming up with, we wish we had that, right? And we wish we could see things from your perspective, because you have got so many opportunities in front of you. And I think, at the same time, I remember when I was your age, I didn't have the confidence that I've got now. And that's the biggest thing I think this Ewan's trying to give you guys is confidence and position. And if you get those right, you can be really successful.
Dan, look, that is a fantastic intro. With a question here saying, can we connect with you? What's your LinkedIn? Is that allowed, Dan?
Yeah, no, of course it is.
What are the best jobs in finance or with a maths degree?
I think the thing is about degrees, they don't necessarily dictate where you go next, right? So it's more about what do you want to do, not so much what does maths confine you to. Because I know people who've done, language degrees who are in finance and who did arts degrees. It's more about your ability to think in a critical way and address problems and be proactive. So, the skill sets you're learning at uni, they're good because they do set you up for good critical thinking in many respects, but they don't necessarily give you the skills to go and solve problems. So what really more importantly is what do you want to do? Because you can go and do it if you want to.
I know you work with a lot of interns. Can you give some perspective on that for some of the audience here?
So for this company now, I've done 9 intern rounds. I've just taken another 2 on. And they're amazing, right? These kids are just phenomenal, the ideas and the energy and everything. And so there's another thing I would say. I think a lot of kids these days get a bad rap from older generations. When the interns come to me, usually they know what they want to do, or they know roughly what they want to do in terms of testing things out, or they just want to get involved. And that enthusiasm's worth so much. So, the interns who come, usually we sort of, on the first month, I guess, when they come through the door, we just throw them at everything, so try this, try that, find out what you're good at and just learn. Some of them, and in terms of payment as well, I should say, when I had a burnout at some point in my career when I left Thomas Cook and I was executive. This is 5 years ago.
You were chief digital officer, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I decided to work for free for people because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. If you can work for free, do it. If you can't, take money, but don't make it the big thing to take money in the first 3 months. I just got this guy a job, Eddie. He came out of university and he couldn't find a job, and I helped him find an internship with an investment firm, and they didn't really want to hire him. And he said, "Look, I'll work for you for free." And they were like, "Right, well, we can't really turn this guy down. We need some help, And then after about a month or 6 weeks, they said, "Oh, well, could you come in a bit more?" And he said, "Well, yeah, can you pay me a little bit? Just a bit. I just want, a few hundred quid." And they did. And anyway, he's like 3 months later, he's got a job, right? Wow. So, that is, I know universities advise against, doing that, because with the internships we do, we pay kids. We started off paying a stipend, which is basically, cash.
Right.
So for expenses rather than a salary. And the university said, "Oh, we don't like that." And we said, "Okay, we can pay the hourly rate, but they get less because they pay taxes on that and everything." And then about a year later, the universities came out and said, "Actually, we like stipends." So, but the universities aren't the best people to set up your internships by any means, like you are.
Say more than that.
If you can find people who need help and you offer them help, and I do this even now to win business, I offer people free work to get in the door. And when they see what you can do and what they're willing to do to work for them, to help them, you kind of become indispensable. Now, it's easy when you're an intern to be treated like like rubbish. But I would say often you're in the wrong internship if you're doing that. When you make yourself indispensable, And certainly if you're going for free, you can turn that down anytime you want. You can walk away when you want.
Yes.
So anyway,
Dan, a question from Farzan's. Some great questions coming in. I'm just looking for ones that are relevant for specifically to Dan. I would work for free for 3 months as well, but I'm struggling to find an opportunity within my location. Any tips?
Well, I guess it depends where you are and what you want to do. What I would say is, like a lot of those, some things come in through network, some things come through, through application and so on. I would really say early stage companies are desperate for help and often can't find ways to hire people. And some of those early stage companies, particularly in financial services, actually, you have a lot of founders who were execs, who've been in big businesses, who've got an incredible... This is what happened with Eddie, actually. I got him into a private equity technology firm, and he's now headed off into an investment firm. Right?
Wow.
So, and I mean, that's happened. All the interns that we've hired, so we take interns in, but we sort of only hire a few. When, they all go on within about a year or two, but usually a couple of years, whatever it is. They've gone on to do some really cool stuff. I really do think that, that hiring, that just going in and, using that opportunity to network is really what you're there for, right? That's what, you'll do some work, but actually what you're going to do is meet everybody, LinkedIn, connect with everybody, go to the drinks, go to the events, and you'll really start connecting that way. So maybe just broaden the net a bit, I would say to that person.
Thank you. Dan, how did these interns find you? Was it LinkedIn?
So we put adverts out and we put ads in the unis as well. And I find if you advertise on LinkedIn, you just get hundreds, if not thousands of applications, but people who aren't even in the country who, they've not even read the application. So I think, I'm much more interested in someone who, and I've had people reach out and say, can I do an internship with you? I'll give you, I can do that. I've got this much time. We usually ask for 20 hours a week. But what we say is
3 days, 2 days.
Well, it's whatever. It's however you want to do it. It's like you manage your time. If you can't manage your time, it's probably the wrong environment for you. But you've got tasks you need to do. If they're time sensitive, you make it happen. But effectively, it's can you deliver and can you manage your time? That's the first kind of test we're almost giving people to see if they can do that and if they can be delivery focused and outcome focused.
What about LinkedIn, Dan? How important is LinkedIn to you in the context of interns and so on?
So this is a tricky one because I know there's a lot of LinkedIn massive fans here, and I've had some huge success on LinkedIn personally and with hiring people and whatever. But LinkedIn is also a bit of a moving target at the moment in that its algorithms are shifting. So in terms of posting content and getting noticed, it's not as powerful as it was this time last year. It's a lot harder to get, like a post I would put out and maybe get 10,000 views on. These days are getting kind of hundreds of views. And I think a lot of people are finding the same sort of thing. I also think the appetite for the type of content that's posted on LinkedIn is dwindling because TikTok is so much more appealing, which is why I'm saying you guys listening here are sitting on a gold mine. You really are in the right place right now because you understand where content and where that, where the marketing market is. Whereas actually, I think LinkedIn is looking a little bit irrelevant. However, if you're serious about getting a career and you want a sort of, that graduate kind of position, or, if you're not, even if you've not been to university and you just want to start working somewhere, you do need to have some cred somewhere. And LinkedIn is sort of where it is today. So you need to have a positioning statement and a biography and a CV effectively on LinkedIn.
Is it perhaps less about posting, right, but more about having that profile? Because that's the portable thing that can be passed around the organization. I see that a lot.
Yeah, you need it. Yeah. It's got to be there, right? I mean, I wouldn't take mine down now. Although I'd say I'm finding it's not working as well as it did. But I think at the same time, you absolutely have to have something, especially in the early stages. And I think, if I'm honest, one of the frustrations that I see younger people have is that they haven't got 500 connections. They haven't got things to post about on LinkedIn because they're not sure what to post about and they're unsure. What I would say is, actually LinkedIn's trying to be more like TikTok now. So remember the fact that you're already here and doing stuff. And that's kind of the old people are a little bit worried about that because I think they're kind of worrying what the cool kids are doing and they're a bit left out of things. So really don't worry. That someone asked a question about imposter syndrome earlier on.
Yes.
And like, number one, everybody feels that. Number two, you've kind of got to find your own way through it, but stop worrying about yourself with it, And number three, everyone every executive I know has imposter syndrome. So it's not like older folks don't get that either. So don't worry about it. Hello, sorry, the old person pressed the wrong button.
Here's a question from Archie Annan, Dan. Just before Dan is a senior executive. We're very fortunate. He's here for a few more minutes, and he has been running his own company for the longest time. He's been a chief digital officer of various different chiefs in various different companies, and he regularly advises on multi-billion deals, helping big companies understand how to pitch and manage. So he's been around the block. So we see one here saying, does a good LinkedIn profile make you more likely to get a job than just sending in your CV?
I mean, it's not going to hurt, right? But I think, the challenges you guys have got is if you're almost being pushed down a tunnel of, send your CV into this, put your LinkedIn profile up and cross your fingers and hope for the best. And so this is something I learned, right? So, and this is a bit about marketing. So I love marketing. And I think I was not one of the sort of A students at school. I got like enough grades to get this onto the course I wanted to do. Right. But I decided to go and study Japanese at university. Right. I went to Sheffield to study Japanese. And the reason I went to do it was I looked through the UCAS book and everything looked a little bit boring to me. And I saw Japanese and thought, after 4 years, I'll be able to speak, read and write Japanese. Yes, I'll do that, because that will actually help me stand out more than, say, a 2-1 or a first in something, more sort of standard, I guess. And it worked. And that's really helped me with my storytelling, I suppose. So I think, as you can set the sort of mechanics up of having a LinkedIn profile and having a CV that goes into the right place, but don't forget your story, because your story and how you differentiate yourself will get you much further than just having those things set up. That's right. Because if you meet someone in the pub, it's not the CV, it's not the LinkedIn profile they're looking at you, and they want to know why you're different and so on. The other thing I used to do, and it won't work anymore, but like when we got jobs, people were still printing CVs on paper. So there was and so like the people recruiting had this massive pile of CVs and they'd shortlist it. And I always printed my CV on yellow paper, so that of that big pile, or blue paper, whatever, it doesn't matter, but it would always get noticed. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is you don't have to be the best candidate, but you do have to be differentiated, and you do have to have a different perspective and a different look on things to get noticed sometimes. Yeah, there's lots of perfect people out there, perfect shiny people with firsts and whatever, but they're not always the best people to get the job done. What you really want is, the interns that I hire, one of the prerequisites is, have you worked in a job while at university, or are you trying to run a business? Are you trying to do something so that, can you grasp, can you work? Yes. Because if you've had everything on a plate, I'm not interested. I like people who've really had to put a bit of time in to figure things out, because they work harder to get out of where they are now, and they'll work harder to kind of work through problems, regardless of the university they're at and regardless of the grade. And so, don't forget that you can get the mechanics in place, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's how you're going to get the job and that's going to be successful either.
Gotcha. Now, if you're just joining us, we're speaking with Dan. Dan is a very senior executive running his own company. We're very fortunate to have him here. I've got some more questions. Dan, I'll need to ask you for quick answers, if that's okay. No, that's okay. It's all right. It's all good. Quick question. I know these are difficult to answer quickly, I know, Dan, but let's try. What can I do as a 17-year-old to get into finance?
Go and work for free for someone.
There we go. Really good. Jonathan says, can you ask Dan tips for climbing the corporate ladder?
Live and breathe what you're doing. So put the extra time in and work the extra hours. I worked evenings and weekends on journalism, and I lived and breathed. I did not stop, but it was worth every moment. Noticed, doesn't it? You just learn more than everybody else. Yes. And by the way, when you're younger, unlike us, you've got energy.
right?
Yeah.
You're the Energizer Bunny, right?
You haven't got kids to look after either,
no,
which is
no children. Yes. Okay, Dan. What quality makes someone new to an industry stand out to execs?
enthusiasm, ideas, proof that you've delivered or done something off your own back, self-starter, not being spoon-fed everything, and going the extra mile.
Thank you. Thank you. Oliver's saying, can we organise another call soon? Yes, Oliver, will do. What's the red flag that executives would see on a CV or a profile that will make you click away?
All right, so the first thing is if they all look the same, it's really hard to see. So make sure you differentiate your CV. Try and make it look nice, because design matters more than ever these days. People's attention span has gone down as they get more information on a daily basis because of all the information that we receive. So if you put a standard 1990s style CV there, which is the same as a 2024 CV, no one's got the time. They're only going to read the top bit. Yeah. So they want to know, so someone who is just bulk loading the CV and bulk loading text, for an exec who's probably got a very short attention span, I wouldn't say it's a red flag per se, but I'd say it's more like they just wouldn't have the time. Yeah. Give them the help to understand you
as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, yeah.
TikTok says, my friend is at a startup, less than 10 people, as a graduate, but feels like he isn't learning anything.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah. In my experience, attending events and meeting people is more successful, says Fem.
Yeah, get out there, go meet people, definitely. It's the way. I mean, some people do well that way. Some people get really nervous at networking events. And really the only skill that there is to learn is when there's a space, go and fill it and just open and ask and say, how are you? Yes. And that's pretty much it. So just get used to doing that and crack on.
He's spitting straight facts, says A1. There you go. I think that means good news. I don't know
if my wife would agree with that, but yeah, thank you.
We got the corporate ladder. We did that one. Thank you, Dan and you. A very valuable answer. Yellow paper it is, says Archie. You got lots of agreement here. Currently volunteering as a trustee for a charity. Job hunting since 2022. Still struggling. Says Farzan.
Okay. Are you getting out there and talking to people? If you're doing that trustee work for free, I'm assuming, or for very little money, could you potentially provide someone else with that offering? I think you network is the way. I don't really know any other way to do it other than, just keep pushing harder and maybe look in different industries.
Dan, would you do a startup or a blue chip at the start of your career?
Oh, that's a really good question. If I could do what I did now, I think I went into a big telco when I first left university, and I didn't really like it, but I learned a lot about what I didn't like. So I couldn't really advise you on what to do. I would take the thing that you're most interested in is going to help you learn most. It doesn't really make any difference. It's just go do the thing where you think you're going to end up enjoying yourself. For me, I took a part. I did telco first of all, realised I didn't like it, took a massive pay cut, and went into journalism, started again. I think I got myself at 23 years old. I was I did telco, worked in an NTT and then a tech sort of trading company, basically building Cisco network routers and in data centers. It wasn't me at all. I'm very much a front of house person, not back of house. So
you realised that.
Yeah. Yeah. So so I was earning an enormous amount of money doing that because that was very well paid at that point, that job. I basically decided to take a salary for a third of what I was earning so I could learn to be a journalist. And, I wouldn't change that for anything.
Do you recommend personal statements on the CV or not? I don't like them.
No, I don't like them because I don't really mean anything. I think what you got to do is show proof of capability.
That's it. Yeah.
And something different and differentiation. I think they're the big things.
Is 1 page or 2 pages better on a CV?
Depends what story you're trying to tell and who it's for. I would always say, tailor your CVs for where you're going. With the most, I tailor my CVs. If I'm going for positions or, like advisory roles these days, if someone says, can you send a CV? It looks different every time. Yeah. And people may say you over-engineer it, but that's just what I do.
Do you want education first or experience on a CV?
Well, I actually I like experience. So, for example, one girl who's worked for me, she actually joined me as an intern in her first week of her university. And then she wanted to work through university. So she did the internship for 3 months. We extended the internship by another month or so. And then we gave her a job, like just part time. We gave her a title. So by the time she came out of uni, she'd worked 3 years in a proper job and position. So she could already start that. So if you've got titles and you've got, experience, go for it, right? I mean, education's the sort of thing that comes last. You see a lot of people with graduate pictures on their LinkedIn profiles, and I don't necessarily think that's a great thing, because really it's just saying I'm fresh, I'm new, I've got, I'm basically brand new out of the factory. And like, I'm not necessarily sure that's a great thing, because all graduates are sort of the same. It's a bit of a level playing field, and I know that's like sacrilege to say that on this call.
No, it's useful to hear it. It's useful to hear it.
But what I want to know is, someone's got the degree, but they've also worked and they've done this, or they've built a business and they've done that, and actually, or they've gone and worked here for free, but they've done these things and achieved these things as well, or they've volunteered here. I don't care, but they've done something over and above spoon-fed mode, I suppose.
Okay. Dan, Ella says, "What's the best advice for inspiring a journalist? I'm currently in my final year of uni."
Doing journalism, I'm assuming.
I presume.
It's the best career in the world, because you get to go and meet everybody, travel everywhere, and learn everything. And every day is different. It's a blank sheet of paper every day. It's just a wonderful way to learn a craft. It's not necessarily the best paid work in the world, but for me, it was a really good way to understand where I was strong and what I could do, and so on and so forth. I really enjoyed it.
MK's asking, so should I remove my personal summary and then do you replace it, just go straight into experience?
Yeah, I mean, a good thing is to maybe have 2 or 3 bullets at the top that sort of summarize.
The summary, but
summary
not that I'm passionate about.
Not what I'm passionate about. It's more like, I've done this. I've done, I've done this. By the way, I've got this degree in this thing. That'd be the 3rd bullet, I suppose.
Yeah. So Kella says, just got to say, I think it's crazy we're getting all of this content for free. There you go, Dan. We're very fortunate Dan is giving up his 10 p.m. Friday to be here.
My wife wants me to go and watch Slow Horses with her in a minute, so I better dash.
Oh, we better go. Okay. Let's just go. Out of the Factory is crazy, says A1, just on your comment there.
Sorry.
No. I think they're agreeing. Well, I'm agreeing. I'm very agreeing with that. Yeah. I work full time in a pharma whilst at university. Any tips?
That's really good going. I mean, it's hard working while doing university, but what it shows you can manage your time, you can manage your finances, you're focused, you're dedicated, you're not just out, and it's fine to go out and do fun stuff, but if and things, but it's important to achieve. Or show you can achieve, or show you can, I don't know, like you've just got a bit more going on than the degree itself. I think that's a requirement these days that people look for. So well done, whoever did that.
No, guys, I'm sorry, we're going to have to stop with Dan there, because his wife Lisa is being very, very patient, and because he's got to go and watch Slow Horses, which, by the way, is fantastic, Dan.
Guys, Ewan, thank you. This has been great fun. And everybody, I wish you the best of luck with all of it. Really good luck, everyone.
Nice one. Thank you so much, Dan.